What's up, y'all? Welcome to the DJ Kenny Parker Show. We do this on a Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For those of you that are new to the show, what's up? It's kind of warm in here. I think I want to cut the AC on, but I don't want the noise to really come through the mic. I might just thug it out. I'm going to see how long I could go. Spook Realm 4Q, you are first in the building. What's up as usual? Haitian Space Program, what up? Where you been? I'm going to invite Haitian Space Program on the show just to find out that name. I still want to know where you got your name from. Spook Realm says, please assault that like button and buy the book. My brother's name is Kenny. The link is in the description below. And big up to the Rewind crew. Floetry, what up? Patrick Sargent, what up? Wu-Tang Clan final tour. Do we believe that? I think I'm going to cut this air on. There it is. I cut the air on, so it might come through or not. Oh, no. There you go. Okay, now we rocking. I got the AC on. What was I going to say? Oh, Wu-Tang Clan final tour. Do we believe that? Everyone always has like a final tour, or they're retiring, and then a couple years later they're back. I don't know. I hope we get a chance to catch. I think I'm gonna try to get a chance to check them out. Abel Valdez, what up? Says, peace, Kenny Parker. I saw the video for 13 and Good for the first time this morning. Word? That video is 33 years old. He says, you actually look younger now than you did then. LOL. Thank you so much. I'll appreciate that. That video is 30. We shot that video in 1992. You're seeing it for the first time? Wow. Supreme Divine, what up? I don't recognize this name. Zigzag Boogie. Are you new to the channel? What up? Kenny Parker official like a referee's whistle. I don't know, man. I've seen some bad ref whistles, man, lately. Gregory Nettis, what up? Let me scroll down a little bit. Ethan Sutton, what up? Ethan Sutton says, DJ KP, I wrote and produced my own boom bap song inspired by the Twilight Zone. If I sent you a copy, could maybe we bump it on the show sometime? Maybe, yeah. If I can figure out how to play music on here. Floetry One says, yo, Kenny, have you watched any of videos of Knife Wonder chopping up samples and making beats? I think I saw one years ago. He says he's so fast, it's insane the way the drums, where he churns out beats. Yeah, I mean, I forgot what machine he uses. I want to get a new drum machine. I want to start working on some updated drum machines. I mean, I've been messing with the SV1200 for a million years, but I'd like to get some new machines. I don't know what I would use. Rosmel, what up? Reggie Johnson says, my girlfriend made me miss last week, but I'm here this week. Let's go. Let's go. Thank you so much. I understand, sometimes you got to do what you got to do, and I appreciate that. So thank you for returning the following week. Sweet Goldilocks, what up? The comment section, what up? Damara Suti, what up? Nev Ed Official. Hey, says, listening while taking a walk. I always like to take walks, man. I take walks all the time when I get a chance. That is always good, man. If you can't get a run, get a walk in. Patrick Wise says, good evening, KP and the Friday crew, checking in from the Northeast Bronx. Big up the BX. Verse Pro, what up? Sydney Rhodes, what up? Reggie Johnson. And I say this every week. I gotta get a weekly name for this, but I'm gonna try to move faster to catch up to the comments. John Wall says, talking about Slick Rick debut album on Tuesday, I'd argue that Dane first record had bigger hits and more radio play. I don't know if I would argue that. I mean, I'm not going to count Nightmares. That was out before his album. Was that on his album? Nightmares was huge. He had Delancey Street was like a mixed show record. I don't think it was a big radio record. Cinderfella, Dane, that played a lot. Cinderfella, Dane played a lot. I don't know if it was on mainstream radio, but here in New York, I got a lot of mixed show play. That's 3 singles. Think I'm missing a single. Delancey Street, Cinderfella, Dane with Fame. Those are big, but Children's Story was one of the biggest records of the year of 1988, 89. I think his album dropped late 88, so really it was like big in 89. I think that's one of the biggest songs of the year. And Hey Young World was huge. Mona Lisa was huge. Here in New York, The Ruler's Back got just as much play, I would say, as Delancey Street on the mixed shows. Big up to my boy Dane, too. That's my fam. I would argue that Slick Rick had more bigger hits. I would argue Slick Rick had bigger hits. Chuck Nice, what's up? Verse Pro says, I'm going to see Capadonna Sunday night. Wow, I didn't know Capadonna was doing shows. That's dope. Spook Realm says, Too Short got the record for retiring and coming back. I never knew Too Short retired. I knew remember Jay-Z's big retirement? He was done. Then he wasn't. Dropped like 3 more albums since then. Tribe had their last show. They retired. Then they didn't. It's quite a few. Shout out to Too Short. I haven't seen Too Short in I haven't seen Too Short since the 90s. Guess who says, Kenny, tell me this. Why people call themselves hip-hop but don't want to talk about the false narrative of Herc and Flash? I don't know what false narrative that is. We've talked so much on this channel about the birth of hip-hop to the point of nausea. I'm going with the story that's most popular at this point because nobody seems to be able to get the story right. Christopher Caldwell, what up? BLVK Mirror. Black Mirror? I can't. BLVK Mirror? What up? I don't recognize your name. Welcome to the DJ Kenny Parker Show. Says, KP, what's your favorite song off of Edutainment? Well, outside of the Kenny Parker Show, I'm gonna take that off the equation. I'm gonna go with Breath Control 2. I loved. House Nigga, probably those two. Love's Gonna Get You. I'm gonna go with Breath Control 2. Verse Pro says Dane was local compared to Slick Rick. Well, Dane's first album went gold back when it was incredibly difficult to go gold. I wouldn't say he was local compared to Slick Rick, but he was a Slick Rick's first album sold 1.5 million. Record sales is not the only measure of success, by the way. I throw out record sales sometimes here, and people throw out record sales. That's one metric of a few metrics to measure. But Dane went gold with his first album, which is incredible, especially in '87. But Slick Rick went 1.5 million, which is gold is 500,000, so he sold almost a million more, and it was just bigger. So I think Slick Rick was just bigger. Um, I think he was just bigger. Sydney Rose says Dane was nice. Slick Rick was a game changer. We've had our game changer conversations on here, and I had a lot of back and forth with that. I'm not going to get into that today. Rosmel says, Kenny, just to give you an idea of how big Wu-Tang is, I just saw the trailer for their new PlayStation and Xbox video game, Wu-Tang Rise of the Deceiver. That's dope. Executive produced by Ghostface. Dope. Wu-Tang is huge. Wu-Tang is a movement. I think they have probably the greatest logo in the history of rap. I could safely say that. Their logo and Public Enemy's logo are probably considered the two best. I'm going to say Wu-Tang has the greatest and most recognizable logo. Matter of fact, there's mad people that wear Wu-Tang shirts that probably couldn't name a Wu-Tang record. I see mad different kind of people with Wu-Tang shirts on. Reggie Johnson says, Cinderfella, This Be the Death Beat. I used to like This Be the Death Beat. And with Fame were the biggest songs in ATL back then. I forgot about This Be the Death Beat. That was cool. I don't know if that played as much. Dane with Fame played a lot, and Cinderfella played a lot in New York. But not like The Great Adventure of Slick Rick. KP, what's your favorite song off the Diabolical Biz Markie album? I'm assuming that's the first one. Man, that's crazy. First of all, half that album was already singles by the time that album dropped. Oh man. I'm gonna go with, of course, Nobody Beats the Biz. That was already out, but that's one of my favorites. You know what I really loved? Cool V's dedication to scratching. I love that song. I mean, The Vapors was great too. This is something for the radio. I have a lot of songs on that album that's equally great to me. Nobody Beats the Biz was one of my favorites though. And Cool V's I think it's Cool V's dedication to scratching, something like that it's called. That was a dope album, by the way. CMCs, once again, thank you so much for your contribution to the channel. I really appreciate it. It's much appreciated here on this channel. So salute KP. If you ever get KRS back in the lab, could you guys do an extended version of I'll Do This For You to 550? Laugh out. That beat is amazing. I'll do this. Oh, I'll do this for you. Oh, the song off of the BDP album that I did with KRS in 2012. And actually, I gotta go back and listen to that. But if I recall, that originally had a reggae. That's actually a remix. The beat I changed the beat. It was originally a reggae beat. And then I had this slow beat that I had made after Chris had already recorded the vocal. It was one verse. And I just remixed it. That album I mentioned before was supposed to be a mixtape. So like that verse was just one verse. There's a couple things that was just one verse or two verses because it was supposed to be like a quick mixtape. But I extended some things, moved some lyrics around, and made it longer. But I gotta go back and listen to that. I haven't heard that in a long time. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that your contribution and that comment. Let me jump down a little bit. Papa Sincere says Cool V song was fire too. Cool V, go ahead. Yeah. That record was dope. It doesn't even get mentioned. It wasn't a single, doesn't get mentioned on that album, but that record was dope. And shout out to Cool V too. That's my brother. Um Picking Boogers was hilarious, Sam. That whole album to me is equal. All the songs were just equally dope. Marley or Biz said he produced most of them songs with Marley. A lot of people say Marley was the engineer and they did a lot of the production. That's what Kane has said, and that's what Biz has said a bunch of times. But whatever the case, Marley did his thing on that Biz album. I asked Biz a bunch of times, um, about who did what production wise. And it's always different version of events. So who knows? I would love to get Marley Marl on this channel. All right, guess who? We're gonna dive into this for a second. I'm getting out. Personally, I gotta go with truth, not what's popular. King Mario, who was hurt, followed, and watched when he came to the States, then dressed like him, wanted to be like him, and later did Cedric 73. That's one person's opinion. I, said G talked about the history of hip hop, his version of the history of hip hop on this channel last year. So if you get a chance, please check out Said G of Ultramagnetic on this channel. He talked a lot about Mario and all that stuff. Um, I've listened to many, many, many of the old school fathers who were there speak. And although they could never really get their story together, there seemed to be a consensus around Kool Herc. Now, other people's names get mentioned, but Kool Herc seems to be the name that the consensus is around. So I'm sticking with the Kool Herc story for myself. Everybody can have whatever truths, that they consider the truth. I mean, I wish you guys have ever been in a room with all of these old school guys, man, and watched them argue all night. It's actually disheartening. KP, do you remember UTFO's You Cold Wanna Be With Me? Of course I do. RIP Kango Kid, yes, and RIP Educated Rapper. I met Kango Kid. Um, I was cool with Doc Ice and Mixmaster Ice. I never met the Educated Rapper. You Cold Wanna Be With Me. They had a couple of records. I used to like, was it Fairy Tale Love? They had a slow jam. I used to like their Fairy Tale Love too. They had a couple of videos that I used to like, man. I mean, they never could reach, capture the essence of Roxanne Roxanne. That was a once in a lifetime smash. But they had a couple records. John Wall says Cool V is working at UPS. I don't know if that's true. I know Cool V was doing Sirius XM with Roxanne Shante a couple years back. I don't know if they still got that going on. And if Cool V is working at UPS, God bless him, man. Got to pay bills. Um, especially since his partner Biz is gone. Got to pay bills, man. It's real out here. I don't even know if that's true, but if it is, hey, man, get some benefits. UPS, United Postal Service, get some health insurance. Um, Supreme Divine says, I have to say, when I first saw the Criminal Minded album cover, I couldn't believe that KRS-One was the one rhyming. He looked like a total thug. Yeah, well, KRS was months removed from the men's shelter. He was months removed from years of living on the street when he shot that album cover. So maybe that facial expression is an expression of, thank God I don't have to sleep in a shelter on the ground anymore, but I'm still got one foot in the streets. I don't know. Jason Wall says UTFO did Fairy Tale Love on Soul Train. Word? I never saw that, but that was my song on the low. Supreme Divine says he sounded more intelligent than he looked. Wow. Who's it going in on KRS? UPS isn't a bad gig. I would say it isn't. I mean, I would say the Postal Service is a safe federal job, as safe as a federal job, probably that, not as safe, but one of the safest. I mean, the Postal Service has been around since the 1800s, right? Rain, sleet, or snow, the Postal Service is going to be there in some form, and it's a federal job, benefits. I don't know how hard it is. I don't know if he's a mail carrier or he works in the back or how long he's been there. Um, I don't know. Let's see. Cutie Pie 509, what's up? I don't recognize that name. What's going on? Says people don't want to work anymore. Well, nobody really wants to work, but if you have to, I mean, and if you've been an artist, a touring artist on a major level for most of your life, getting a 9 to 5 is could be a difficult transition. I mean, Cool V been touring with Biz since '86. You're talking almost 40 years. Well, Biz passed a few years back. Um, but you're talking 35 years on the road. That's, it's very difficult, man. And, as the DJ, when your MC is gone, what are you going to do? Papa Sincere says Cool V is still with Shantae doing Have a Nice Day show 5 days a week. That's dope. And I was on that show. Did a dope interview with Shantae. I actually recorded it. She dropped some gems. We talked about my book. The link is in the description below. If you don't have the book, please get it. Every answer to questions about BDP is in that book. But I had a nice conversation about Shantae. We talked about her battle with Chris, the conflict, and everything. It was a great conversation, and she read the book. It was great. Now, KP from the song "The Vapors" about Cool V. I don't know what you mean by that, but part of "The Vapors" was about Cool V, written by Big Daddy Kane. Oh man, this is so hard to. Chris Morale, that is it. I haven't seen you here in a while. Where you been? Says Kenny Parker, what are your favorite R&B jams that sample rap beats? Oh man. And I'm gonna say rap beats in records that were rap records, not break beats. Because they sampled a break beat, even though rappers used it. Um, it's still a break beat. You said songs that sampled rap beats. Um, wow, that's a hard one because we're talking the '90s. I would have to think about that because Mary J had a couple. Um, she sampled Dollar Bill, y'all. What's the record with Keith Murray? Um, that was dope. Um, Touch Me, Tease Me was dope. They sampled PSK. I like This Is How We Do It for a second. They sampled Slick Rick, Children's Story. That record was dope for about 3 weeks and a month, and then it just got to the point, once a record goes big, goes pop, they play it until you can't hear it anymore. Um, that's a great question because I'd have to really think about that because there's been hundreds of records that sampled rap beats. Um, I'd have to get back to you on that, but that's a great question because I'm trying to separate rap beats from break beats, and that's why it's difficult. I'm gonna get back because I know there's probably one that's like my one, but I can't think of it off the top of my head. That's a great question. I'm gonna have to double back on that one. Let me scroll down a little bit. Kennard Roberts' Gangstar logo is nice. Gangstar logo is dope. Um, it is dope. According to TJ Swan's jump off, UPS is low down. Oh, you talking about UPS from the Vapors? No, but now I get it. No, in the Vapors, Swan worked at UPS. Cool V worked at the record shop and got fired from the record shop, and then he blew up. He came back to the record shop, and the owner was caught the Vapors. That's actually a true story. That's actually a true story. And that was actually the record. I believe in that video, that was the record shop in Jersey, and that was the owner. They put him in the video. Swan was the one. Rest in peace, TJ Swan. That was my dude too. BDP was very, very close to Biz Markie's camp, by the way. Very close. KRS and Kane were very close too, but BDP and Biz's camp were very close too. Um, Swan worked at UPS. Patrick Wise says Cool V took Swan's spot at UPS. I made a mistake. Rusty Horn's music virtuoso, what up, says Postal Service is different from UPS. USPS is government, UPS is private. All right, you're right. I was thinking of the US Postal Service. It's a great job. Not a great job, but a solid job because of benefits and longevity. Now, UPS, you're right. I don't know about UPS. I don't know. The brown truck, I'm not sure. I don't know about UPS. I mean, still a job. If you got to pay your bills, you got to pay your bills. But I don't know if you could compare UPS to U.S. Postal Service. My mistake. I meant you. I meant I got it mixed up. You are 100% correct. Cutie Pie says I can understand how that might be an adjustment. Yeah, I mean, there's artists. You got to imagine. Let's say you had a hit in the 80s or the 90s. First of all, you got to consider most rappers, not most, many, I'm going to say many, didn't finish high school even. Some have college degrees, but that's very rare. Most of them didn't finish high school and got into the rap game early. You've been in the music industry your whole life. Now imagine you're 40 something, maybe even 50, and you're going to look for a job now with no job experience, no resume, no school, no degree, nothing. What do you put on the application? What have you been doing for the past 40 years? I have been an artist on tour. But whatever job you're trying to get 9 to 5 probably has nothing to do with that. Um, and then even though you're probably no longer in the mix, you're still probably recognizable to a lot of people your age. So you probably go into a place to work, to be a worker, and there's mad people going, yo, aren't you so-and-so? I grew up to your record. my mom still listen to you or whatever. You got to deal with that. Customers going, oh, ain't you so and so? That's in the mix. Um, you're used to getting thousands of dollars for an hour's work. Now you have to work a week to make maybe what you would have made in an hour if you're lucky. Um, it's very, I could see it being very, it hasn't happened to me, but I could see it being very, very difficult. And um, I know some artists who have had to have 9 to 5s at some point, and it's a difficult transition. I know some artists who just can't do it, and they are broke, and they just can't see themselves working. They just keep trying to do anything they can to get back in. Um, Fortry says, yeah, UPS isn't federal. He said the hard part was just driving the same route day in and day out for years. Oh, Kuvi said this? Oh, I didn't realize that would be a hard part. Um, Driving the same route day in, day out for years, I guess. But if you was a person who traveled the world, I guess so. Um, Oh, Cutie Pie says, my friend R.I.D.D. brought me here last time you were live and I was hooked. So, well, welcome. Everybody, please give a welcome to Cutie Pie 509. And we do this every Tuesday and now Friday. We do it every Tuesday, 8 p.m. And we're going to try to get these Fridays popping off as much as possible. But welcome. And thank you, Rid, for bringing your friend along. Um, Fauci says, don't be mad. UPS is hiring. Yeah, UPS became the brunt of the joke of like, you can't do anything else. Um, I don't look at it like that. But I guess, you were once this, and now I guess you have a job that everyone else does or anyone else can do, I guess. I don't know. But it makes the point when somebody says UPS, it makes the point for sure. What's your favorite Houdini song? Funky Beat. Doom 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 doom. Um, was was uh was Grandmaster D the first rapper to jump on the mic? Not, I mean, the first DJ to jump on the mic as a rapper. That was an official DJ in a group. Last Fresh Fest, I was rocking good times. This Fresh Fest, I'm busting out rhymes. Funky Beat was crazy. I do believe Larry Smith did that beat. The great Larry Smith, who doesn't get mentioned. Mango Dolo says, love your production work, Kenny Parker. Thank you so much. Your brother is the GOAT MC. I agree. There are a few GOATs, but Mona Lisa sampled MC's Act Like They Don't Know. They sure did. The singer Mona Lisa, which is another check for KRS and Preem. Um, Total sampled South Bronx. So many BDP records were in R&B songs. Total sampled South Bronx and Jenny from the Block um, sampled South Bronx. Imagine that album sold like 3 or 4 million copies, and that single played around the world. Publishing on that owning the publishing rights to South Bronx and being sampled by Jennifer Lopez was probably worth it over $1 million. That KRS never got, and the estate of Scott LaRock never got because they signed a bad deal. $1 million gone, one song. I'm trying to think of R&B that sampled BDP. I think. Oh, Rihanna sampled "The Bridge Is Over," and she sings "dee dee dee da dee 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 da dee day." on her first album. That's probably platinum. More money going. Publishing rights to Criminal Minded is worth millions. What over the years? I'm not going to get into the publishing today. I talk about it. Um, I talk about it enough on this channel. Um, Jason Wall says, "What came first, LL Booming System or In Vogue? Never Gonna Get It? That had the same beat. It wasn't Never Gonna Get It. It was Hold On, and In Vogue came first, and LL jumped right on that. He jumped on it while In Vogue record was probably still playing. In Vogue's record was probably still on the radio, and he jumped right on that." Dan Marasuti says J-Lo stole from the Beatnuts. Well, I guess no, it was Trackmasters produced the record, so um, and they used the original sample. I believe they used the original sample that the Beatnuts used. The Beatnuts made the sample popular, but it was still a sample. So if you want to clear it, you got to go to the people who made it, not the Beatnuts. Um, yeah, Verse Pro says total, no one else, no one else. Yeah, and Alonzo Hunter's Players Play. They use Players Anthem. Yeah. Case Touch Me, Tease Me was big. That was a big one. That was a big one that used a straight hip hop record slowed down, and it was a dope. That was dope. And I used to see Case in the party all the time. Case used to hang out a lot in New York. Big up Case. He was mad cool. I used to see him weekly. Because as I've mentioned on this channel, I was in those streets. Oh, this was not a big hit. I don't know if this was a hit anywhere else, but in New York, this was big. In Essence, You'll Never Find with the Mobb Deep beat. And used to play um, Mobb Deep's record, and then you mix in Essence record. And he used to kill in the party. I used to do that mix. All the DJs used to do that mix. And actually, oh no, because In Essence sampled the Mobb Deep, which sampled Flash White Lines, which was a makeover of Liquid Liquid from Cavern. But actually, the White Lines was actually a makeover. So that was a hip hop beat that Mobb Deep sampled, that In Essence sampled from them. So that was dope. They never had I wish they had another one, man. They sound like they had a nice blend. I don't even heard an album from them or anything. Chris Morale says Mary J sampling Stop Look Listen was crazy. Yeah. Um Puff Puff was taking all the samples. Danielle Ladon says, Yo, KP, how did Chris get permission to produce other artists like Queen Latifah, Steady B? Well, I believe, I don't know what his contract was like with Jive. Because for an artist to appear on another artist's record, the record company who owns you has to give permission, which probably means some money exchange between the record companies. But as a producer, at that time, I'm pretty sure Chris, as a producer, could do whatever he wanted to do. So if Queen Latifah, I think she approached him to do some production. I think D Nice has something to do with that Queen Latifah track as well. Um, but if Queen Latifah approached KRS to produce, he could produce anybody he wants. Now the rhyme is a different story. Now Steady B was also on Jive. So I could just see, that's a record company thing. Jive just said, Joe, could we got another artist on here. Could you do a remix? Which reminds me, I got to get DJ Doc on the channel. Damn, keep forgetting. Back in the day, I used to rock out to My Name is D Nice. BLVK Mirror. Yeah. There's an R&B song with that too. Who sung that? Did Missy sample that? Mango says, wasn't BDP and Ultramag semi-affiliated? Very affiliated, not semi-affiliated, very affiliated. It's practically one group at one time. Daryl Thomas says, Swan doesn't get the love as a hook singer. Yeah, before his time. The 80s doesn't really get the love that it should. Most of the people um, think hip hop really started in 90, 92, whatever. Anything before 90, 89, anything before 89 doesn't exist. And anything after 94, 95 doesn't exist. So a lot of rap people have like a little window that they think hip hop was formed and stayed in. But if you've seen hip hop, I was fortunate enough to see the whole evolution, the all 50 years. Um, you would know that there was people that sung dope hooks like Swan. Um, Wish he could have did more in the '90s, man. I don't know I don't know what that was, man. But he was dope. The Green Talons won. What up? Yo, DJ Kenny P, I seen you last week and seen your new set. When did you start this? If you mean by this background, I just do this on a Friday. I do Tuesday, I do my normal background, Tuesday, 8 p.m. Then Friday, I decided to just switch the background to this side. And I'm on my iPad on Fridays and I'm on my computer on Tuesdays. So I try to give it a little different view and a different look. That's all. So this is the Friday look. I can make it the Tuesday look. It depends. Um, Greg Gannett says, shout out to Havoc from Mobb Deep. Yes, a dope producer. Uh, let's see. Verse Pro says, my best friend works for UPS. He makes over $40 an hour, plus gets a lot of overtime. That's dope. You could do a lot with $40 an hour. If you got bills to pay. And I don't think UPS is going anywhere either, because the future of commerce is moving to online and delivery. Everything is I think stores are gonna be done soon. Um, I think everything is moving to delivery. So I think these delivery companies are gonna be very big, unless things move to drones. BLVK Mirror says, I remember when Just Ice was the hardest dude in hip hop. Yeah, he was. There was a time when he was on and in and outside of the studio. Just Ice in the 80s was like Debo from Fridays. Big up Just, who was on this channel. I think he was my second interview. We did it last year this time. Big up Just Ice. That is my brother, man. I love Just Ice. Always good to talk to him, good to see him. And he has a new project out with Mantronics. I need to get him back on here so we can talk about it. But yeah, Justice was the real deal, man. And him and KRS met in the shelter, in the Bronx men's shelter. KRS tells funny stories about meeting Just Ice for the first time before they both had records out. That's what I said, around that Criminal Minded era time. They all was rolling together. Just Ice, KRS, Ultra. Let's see. Corey Flood says, wow, old rappers transition sounds like strippers when they leave the club and go get a job. I mean, I could see the comparison. When you age out, only thing with strippers is that you can imagine, you can have some idea of when you might be getting older. If you say you start 21 or 19 or 20, you know, when you're a young adult, you got to imagine that you probably have, I don't know, 10 years, 8 to 10 years to get your money, maybe more if you keep yourself in shape or whatever. But a rapper, you start around that same age and you have no idea when it ends. The only thing is you think it's never going to end. When you have a hit record or when you flying high, you think it's never going to end. And it always ends. Always. Um, the only good thing now is these artists now, when it ends, they're multi. They have tens of millions of dollars, some of them, between the endorsements and the investments and the amount of money that could be made now. They say Cardi B is worth $100 million and she has one album. It's craziness. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna get off this topic. I'm gonna get off this topic because Cutie Pie says, I get it. Okay, I'm gonna get off this topic. But it's a touchy topic that most people don't really talk about. Um, Most people don't really talk about it, but they should, because there's no pension, there's no retirement. Okay, I'm getting off the subject. But as I was gonna get off the subject, Chris Morale says, it blew my mind seeing Big Bang Hank as a garbage man in my hometown, Inglewood. A job is a job, but that was crazy seeing him. Yeah, I can imagine. And Sugar Hill was still doing shows, I think. I saw Ecstasy from Houdini. He was a bus driver. I seen him driving a bus in Brooklyn. Imagine getting on a bus and seeing Ecstasy from Houdini, and he looked just like himself. You like got to do a double take. Word. And he has like a twin brother too. Christopher Caldwell says Jason Kidd or Gary Payton. I like Jason Kidd. Patrick Wise says yes. Grandmaster D was the first DJ to get on the mic. That is dope, man. Um, Benny Doyle, better late than never. I love these Fridays. Boogie Down for life. Boogie Down for life. Benny Doyle. I'm about to do the Benny Doyle scroll down too. So Pablo, the real one. Thank you so much for your contribution to the channel. I really appreciate it. Because let me give my guy a well-deserved super chat. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the super chats. Thank you. John Lee says, in my opinion, South Bronx should have never been sampled, ever. That is, to me, the best hip-hop song ever. It is hip-hop. It is, but that's why they sampled it, because it was a great song and it's memorable. You know, in that era of sample something memorable and put a new spin on it, put some singing over it. Um, and they used it twice. I'm not mad at it if somebody got paid. It just wasn't the artist. Papa Sincere says a couple used Girls Look So Good. Yeah, it was Gangstar used it. The Girls Look So Good. Next. And Chi Ali, big up Chi Ali. Chi Ali used it too. That was in rap. Tori D says Diddy sat back and looped the dog hell out of every rap beat. Bad Boy Karaoke. Yeah, he found the formula. He took the formula from the Chronic, which was make a beat, pick a track that could be played on the radio, that mainstream radio will accept. And if you get a track that mainstream radio will accept, you could put gangsta lyrics on top of it, but the track has to be smooth. And that's the formula that Dre kind of he kind of not pioneered it, but the Chronic is the album that cracked the radio open in America. But Puffy took it to the next level, and he had the formula that still stands to today because he says, "Well, I can't make beats like Dre. Or not can't. I'm not gonna make beats like Dre and have all the instrumentation. I'm just gonna take the records that everybody know and put rappers on it." Biggie's two biggest hits that propelled his album to platinum was Juicy Fruit and Isley Brothers Between the Sheets. Two massive classic R&B records. He just took it. Biggie put his gangster raps on top and he sold. And then once they put the singing with it too, like you got to put some singing in the hook. Once he did One More Chance, then he was like, oh, it's over. One More Chance. After that, everything was different. That was a game changer, by the way. Um, but yeah, Puffy just said, I'm gonna take the formula from Dre, but I'm gonna do it this way. I'm just gonna get beats everybody know. And I remember seeing interviews where Big was like, he had to fight Puff to use Primo beats because Puff wanted everything to be recognizable. And Big was like, he heard like kicking the door and 10 crack commandments, and he's like, nah, I'm jumping on that. And it was like a little not friction, but like, a little pushback from Puff because he wanted all recognizable beats. But thankfully he let Big do his thing because those are the classics on that album. Let's see. JWoo72, what up? My Eagle Wolf, what up? Michael says, what's up with these questions about what's your favorite song on an album? I've never had time for only one song. I listen to entire albums of BDP and KRS-One. I mean, I agree. I listen to entire album, but everyone has a favorite. I mean, it's a cool question. Um, I have favorites. I know some albums have a few songs to me that I love equally, so that's tough. Then there's other albums where I actually do have a favorite, but if you force me to pick, this is like you forced me, so I'm gonna come up with something. Um, I don't have a problem with it. I think albums were made to listen to, or they used to be made to listen to and experience. You certain albums you had to really experience them as a whole. Like It Takes a Nation of Millions or 3 Feet High and Rising, The Chronic told the whole story, so you really had to listen to the whole thing. Um, Even like some Prince albums and things like that, you had to listen to the whole thing to really get an essence of what the artist was really trying to say. I think albums have gone by the wayside now. Nobody cares about an album. Everybody makes their own playlist. So it's just you just make a playlist of the songs you like. That's why you remember I think when they used to put out those, now that's what I call music. Now that's what I call the '90s. Now that's what I call R&B. Remember those? It used to be like a compilation of the best records of the year. Those used to go platinum. They used to take 10 or 15, like 15 of the hottest records of the year, make one album out of it, and that album used to go platinum. That series, now this is what I call, was hugely lucrative off of music that was just already out. But you put it in one place where people could find it, and people bought it like hotcakes. That was like the birth of the playlist. Now everything is a playlist. Papa says, ill sample train you just broke down of that in Essence Beats. Oh yeah, thanks. Yeah, it was like this led to this, led to this. It was dope. Pablo, the real one. Once again, thank you. I really appreciate it. Says, hear this out. Hear this out. Should music artists' contracts can be structured like athletes? For example, 3 years. Let me see. Th- 3 years, 6 million instead the current. Well, first of all, an artist contract can be structured any way you want it to be. But back in the day, the classic structure was you usually signed a 7-album deal, with each album having a certain budget. So they lent you money. And if your previous album didn't recoup, which means pay back the money, then you owed money on your next album. So your next album had to sell for that album and the album before. So then sometimes you get in a hole where you never recover. But I think Stevie Wonder was one of the first, one of the first people that was publicized, I think in the 70s, where he signed contracts like that, where he would get I think he signed a $2 million an album or something in the 70s, which was a ridiculous amount of money for an artist on Motown who was jerking. I think Stevie had that kind of contract. And I think that's what Prince was fighting about. He wanted to be off of Warner Brothers, and the story I hear with Prince, why he had the slave on his face, was that he had a deal with Warner Brothers for something like 6 albums for 20 million. Let's use that. Let's use 5 and 20. He said, let's say 5 albums, $20 million, right? Prince said, okay, cool. Next week, he comes to the record company with a truck with 5 whole albums worth of music. He says, here's my 5 albums, give me my money, and now I'm free to leave, and I own everything. And Warner Brothers was like, oh, no, that's not how we're doing it. We're breaking this out over years. And Prince was like, no, you said 5 albums, X amount of dollars. I have 5 albums in my vault. Here it is. Give me my money and I'm out. And Warner Brothers didn't agree. And that's when the fight started. And that's why Prince had Slave on the side of his face. Then he changed his name to The Artist. All that was a fight to try to get off of Warner Brothers and get control of his master recordings. So to answer the question, should music artist contract be structured like that? Sure, like an athlete, sure. But athletes have guaranteed contracts too. So if you get hurt playing, your contract still stands. I don't know what the equivalent of an artist would be, because if you don't sell, you get dropped as an artist and you don't get the rest of your money. If you don't perform on the basketball court and you get cut, your contract, you still get your money though. You can't cut a player and not give him his money. If you got a 3-year deal, you got a 3-year deal. If you decide to cut me, you cut me. I still get my money. But in music, if you cut me, I don't get the rest of my money. That would have been a dope structure. In the same way, can you trade artists? Imagine if an artist was not happy on Sony, so you got to trade. You traded into Warner Brothers for some artists over there. Or, you trade, it wouldn't be Future Picks, but yeah, if you could trade artists to different labels, that would have been crazy. You wake up one morning and you get a call from your lawyer, yo, you got traded to EMI. That would have been ill. Anyway, thanks for that question and thanks for the contribution. I never even thought of it like that. Let's see. I think I messed that up. Here we go. GNU SCB, thank you so much for your contribution to the channel. I really appreciate it. Says, peace to my big bro, DJ Kenny. Yes, thank you so much. The contributions are very much appreciated on this channel. Thank you. E Stone, thank you so much for your contribution. I really appreciate it. I don't recognize that name. Are you new? Big up to you. And by the way, I gotta say this, big up to the Rewind crew. Big up to the Rewind crew who's gonna check this out later on. The Rewind crew is huge these days. Um, since I've been talking, we got 45 more comments. So what I'm gonna do is, um, let's see. I did that. Sorry. Um, I'm gonna try to scroll down and I'm gonna jump down a little bit because 45 comments just came through, and I really wanna. Oh, this is dope. E Stone said, "Yo, my daughter finished her school year with straight A's, a 4.0 average. That is fantastic. Big up to your daughter because that is very difficult to do. Big up to your daughter for her dedication to her academics. And big up to you, E Stone, for creating the environment for your daughter to be able to focus on school. A lot of times, a lot of children would have done better in school if they had an environment that catered to them being successful. So that's dope. Big up to you and your daughter. That's dope. 4.0. Sheesh. All right, my Benny Doll scroll down is in effect. Um, what's this? I'm just going to jump in right here. Cameron Robinson, Scott LaRock with the sample on Dope Beat. Yeah, you couldn't even do that sample these days. That sample, there's no way. Sampling was wild in the 80s, man. We was just out there. Just take it. Ill Out Scratch was Brian McKnight, same formula. Yeah, once the formula was set, everybody copied the formula, and it took. I call. I mean, I don't want to disrespect the man. I'm going to say this as a compliment. I call Puffy the gift and the curse because his desire to make rap music more accessible to the mainstream took rap sales to record heights. I mean, there was some artists that were selling big, but once Puffy's whole thing was, I want girls to be able to sing along. And Busta Rhymes always talks about that, how Puffy got on him about nobody wants to hear you rah. All the girls don't want to hear you rah 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 all damn day. And that's why he made Put Your Hands Where Your Eyes Can See. And he changed up his whole style because Puffy was getting on him about the rah 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 style. And even when, I don't know if I ever told this story, but even when Puffy did the remix to Step Into a World, and I remember we was on the road and they sent Chris the cassette of the track. There was a guy rapping on the track, doing Puffy's rhymes. So it was like a reference. Whoever wrote Puffy's rhymes was rapping on the track. And then there was spaces in between for KRS to put his parts. And there was a note, a message pass that said to KRS, please rhyme simple. Please rhyme simple on the track. So Puffy asked KRS to rhyme simpler on the track than I guess he normally would. I don't know how much Chris took that to heart, but that was definitely a producer direction to KRS to rhyme simpler. Puffy wanted hip hop to be able to be sung along to women, which he was very successful at doing. But where he took hip hop, Bad Boy, the Bad Boy sound, which became most of mainstream hip hop sound, took the sales and the money to record heights, but it hurt the integrity of the music. I believe hip hop in its purest form is something that is for everybody, but you have to come to hip hop. And hip hop has rules and a way to listen to the music. and it has lyrical styles, and it has creativity, it has battles, it has subject matter, it has different things. And if you like hip hop, all is welcome, but come to the house and you're welcome in to listen to what we're doing over here. That's always been hip hop's thing. We're doing this over here in the park, in the club, on record. We're doing this over here, and all is welcome. Puffy says, no, we're going to take what we're doing here and we're going to go out there to it. And we're going to present it in a way that they can digest, more people can digest. And albums started selling 5 easily. Albums that would have went gold would be platinum. Albums that would be platinum started going triple and quadruple, and everybody started singing and having singing hooks. And I mean, there's even more to the story. I'm not going to go that deep into it. And I was going to save that Puffy story with KRS for my sex and violence for my step into a world breakdown, which I'm still going to do. Matter of fact, I might do that this week. Do my epic fail, step into a world, because I have an epic fail that goes with that song. That's a piece of the backstory. And I say that to say Puffy was the gift and the curse in a few ways in hip hop. One day I might really get into my opinion on that, but that was a piece of it. But yeah, LL Scratch had the formula. Everybody took that formula. Once One More Chance came out, One More Chance was the turning point. Once Biggie did One More Chance, he slowed his vocals down. Biggie from Juicy, when he was yelling, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, to Biggie giving his My Papa, Freaks All the Honeys, he slowed himself down and took out the aggression in his voice. And he said Puffy told him to do that. And it worked. But I'll probably get into that more if you guys want to. But I have a whole theory on that. But I call Puffy the gift and the curse. This is interesting. This was on my Twitter timeline. They said the Carter 6, Lil Wayne, dropped today, and the whole album is trash. I'm never going to call anyone's work trash. You know, I don't believe in dope and whack on this channel. It's just, does it work for you? But there was a lot of people criticizing the Carter 6 on my X, not Twitter, X timeline. I don't really be on, I be on X just skimming through. I don't never post on there anymore, but this is getting a lot of heat. I haven't listened to it, but the thing with that is if one of those songs, I think there's 19 songs on this album, if one of them is a banger, he's good. That's all you need is one. But you know, there's expectations for Lil Wayne, especially in this generation. You know, some people are saying he's the greatest rapper of all time and all kind of things. There's an expectation for him to have a certain level, and people seem very disappointed. But I haven't listened to it, so I don't know. I'm not going to call his album trash. I don't think anything is trash. Let's see. Jack Swagger says 3 years, 6 million. Artists will take the 6 million and drop one album in 3 years and be out. Yeah, you can't give them the whole 6 million. It has to be 3 years, 2 million a year. Because if you can't give no rapper $6 million. He'll be broke in a year. He'll have a big chain that spins around for $5 million. Oh, wow. Guess who says, wasn't world famous on the mic before Grandmaster D? Big up to C Divine, one of my heroes from the world famous Supreme team. Oh, man, guess who? Now, the world famous Supreme team was a radio show in New York City. underground radio show. They weren't even on mainstream. They were on public access radio. Big up to the Awesome Two, who were on public, who were on that same station. Big up to Jerry Bloodrock, who passed away. Big up to Africa Islam, who was on there. Big up to Mr. Magic, who I think started the whole thing on there. But the Supreme Team had a show, and somehow they found Malcolm McLaren. I don't know how Malcolm McLaren found the world famous Supreme Team, but he found them, brought them out to London, and they did Buffalo Girls. And C Divine is rapping on there, and they did Hobo Scratch, which is on the back. We're on a world tour with Mr. Malcolm McLaren, going each and every place, including Spain. That beat was so ridiculous. Matter of fact, that's one of my favorite beats of all time. That's in my top 3 favorite beats of all time. The Hobo Scratch. Dun, dun. That beat was so hard in '83. Big up Malcolm McLaren. Big up Trevor Horn, the producer. And then he did Hey DJ, which was another great record, which I don't know if you consider that a rap record or a R&B record. I guess it's a rap record with singers. He's a rapper with singing. And Mariah Carey sampled that. I would love to get C Divine on this channel. Oh, that would be a dream of mine. So he did rap a couple years, about 3 or 4. Buffalo Girls came out in like 82, 83. He rapped like 3 years before Grandmaster D. But he wasn't the DJ for a group. He was a collection of DJs, because it was C Divine, it was somebody else. This is a tough one right here. I'm going to have to examine. This is a good call, guess who? I'm going to have to examine that. That's very interesting. B-Boy Jones says, I thought Warner Brothers owned his name as well. Yeah, that's why he calls himself the artist. And then he just was calling himself a symbol. Because I think there was some loophole. I think he was trying to use a loophole that if he records under a different name, then you don't own my recordings because you own Prince. You don't own this symbol that's unpronounceable. Prince was trying everything to get out of that contract. MK Ultra said, the artist formerly known as DJ Kenny Parker. Did you know there's another DJ Kenny Parker out here? There's a DJ Kenny Parker out here that does weddings. There's a rapper named Kenny Parker. And there's a folk singer named Ken Parker. Now, if any of that, I think the artist, the folk singer Ken Parker was out for a while, but these other people, I might need to get my lawyer on them, because I was Kenny Parker. I was DJ Kenny Parker since 1990, edutainment. So if you didn't come out before 1990, I might need a cease and desist. No, I'm not even thinking about it that much. Do you remember Will Smith's I Think I Could Beat Mike Tyson? Yes, I do. That was a funny video. David Scott, I was just saying this the other day. Where's Fluffy Toenails? Fluffy Toenails is one of the early followers, supporters of the Kenny Parker show, and Fluffy Toenails used to be on every week, and Fluffy Toenails and Dragon Breath was the full name, just disappeared. Pablo says, come on, music artists, unionize. I don't think it'll ever happen. I know that my brother KRS is part of a coalition. He's been part of a coalition to try to get a union and health care for artists. But they've been talking about this since the Latin Quarter days. There was a big meeting in Latin Quarter. There was a big meeting in Latin Quarters in '87. And artists were trying to get together to start a union. That was in '87. It didn't work. I wish you guys could see some of these artists when they all get together. It's a shit show. And no disrespect. But I've seen some of these meetings and been very disappointed. East Stone, yeah, he says, yo, Kenny, can you give my daughter a shout out for holding down 4? Oh, yeah, we did that. Her name is Shayla. Big up, Shayla. 4.0 is, it's a lot of sacrifice that goes into 4.0. A lot of sacrifice. This is interesting. Willie from Philly says, I remember BDP remixing songs in the 80s. Were anyone remixing hits before BDP? Yeah, I'm pretty sure they were remixing, but I don't know if anybody, that's still number one numero uno remix. KRS remixed the still number one with a new track, similar track, but with new music on top and new lyrics. It was almost like a part two to I'm Still Number One. I don't know if anybody ever did that before 88. Somebody could fact check me on that, but that I'm Still Number One numero uno remix, where they had the beat, they had this Still Number One, but then they put the salsa horns on top. I think DJ Doc did that. I was in the studio for that. And brand new lyrics. He was going at the poet. I mean, Eric B and Rakim, Marley Marl remixed Eric B is President for the album. If you guys remember, the original one starts out different, it has a different mix. And the album one says, make 'em clap to this. And the girl goes, thank you for your support, or something like that. For your support, make 'em clap to this. And it's like a different mix of Eric B is President for the album. That was in 87. So Marley was doing the remixes already, but the BDP numero uno remix is a little bit different. That's a great question. I don't have all the facts, but yeah, we touched on this. K sampled Schoolie D, Touch Me, Tease Me. Benny Doe says, Spook Realm, I heard Jive Turkey like 6 times watching White Shadow reruns earlier this week. We bringing Jive Turkey back on this show, you Jive Turkeys. That's dope. Yeah, a lot of big ups to East Stone. Big up East Stone. Yeah, man, that's big. Let me scroll down a little bit because I'm falling behind. This is a crazy ill question. Anathema. Yo, KP, is it better to be a big star in hip hop, or behind the scenes? Oh, what is the word better mean? It depends on what your dream is. So let's say being the biggest. Is it better to be a Biggie or a Tupac or a Nas or LL or Drake or somebody like that? Or is it better to be Russell Simmons or Clive Davis or Puff Daddy? Puff really had the best of both worlds. But Jimmy Iovine, even Suge before he decided to make his presence known. That's the question. I think if you want money, you're better off being behind the scenes. But if you want to be a star, if you want the rock star lifestyle, you're better off being a big star. I mean, if you have money, you could do a lot of things that rock stars do, but it's not the same thing because you really are paying your way to the rock star lifestyle, and the lifestyle only goes as far as your money that you're willing to spend. But if you're a star, you don't have to spend any money. You just come outside and everything all your desires will be right in front of you. All you have to do is come outside and be recognizable. So it depends on what you're in it for. I'd rather be behind, knowing what I know, I'd rather be behind the scenes. Safer. You don't have to look over your shoulder. Like I said, you're making way more money. You don't have to do a bunch of shows to get money. You just sit back and collect off of the money you lent to the artist at a terrible rate. Um, and if you mean behind the scenes, as in, let's look at a lower level. Is it better to be an engineer or a manager or, work at the record label as opposed to a star? No. Big star all day over any other. Big star is better than any other job other than the owner or the big executive. Unless you're the president, or you're like the president of the company, the one who signs all the checks, or the owner. Other than that, being the owner, I think being a rap star is better. But being an owner gets you all the money. I hope I'm clear with that. That's just my opinion of it, from what I see. CMCs, once again, thank you so much for your appreciation to the channel. You are really one of the backbones that's making this show possible. Just to show appreciation for you showing up on Fridays to help make the week better, talking hip hop. The show is pure entertainment. Thank you so much, man. And I try to have the conversation go both ways because I get a lot from you guys just as much as you guys uh, get from me. So it's wonderful. And that's one of the other reasons why I wanted to expand from just Tuesday to also Friday so we can have more engagement. Let's get more people in because I noticed I'm getting some of the same heads, but I'm also getting different heads on a Friday that I'm getting on a Tuesday. So it's getting more like-minded people to the channel. So let's do it. I really appreciate that. Let's see. And we're at 9:21. Damn. All right, let me jump down a little bit because we're getting close to the end. Jack Swagger says, Numero Uno Remix is one of my favorite BDP tracks. Just an incredible rhymes, beat. Just, there's like a list, I could name it, like a list of BDP records that was really, really dope that just got lost in the shuffle of the BDP catalog and the times. Just dope records that had they stood alone would be talked about as one of KRS-One's best tracks. But in the midst of everything going on, in the midst of all the stuff he was putting out, it just kind of gets lost. And I think that is one of them. Bebo Jones said it was a faster beat also. I think it was a little bit faster. They sped it up just a little bit. You're right. Let's see. Patrick Wise says, what up, JD? They were one of the first to let people do shout outs before the were called shout outs. Yeah, I think if I'm correct, Mr. Magic coined the term shout out. Don't quote me on that, but I think Mr. Magic started shouting out people, or he coined the term on the radio. And the Supreme Team used to let people call up and do shout outs. And they took some of the samples of people's talking and put it in Buffalo Girls. Like the girl going, all that scratching is making me itch. That is from the world famous Supreme Team show. That's from an actual caller calling up. And there's a real controversial part of Buffalo Girls at the very end. The girl goes, at the end goes, Buffalo, Buffalo, and then she says, too much of that Snow White at the very end. And if you had a chance to listen to the whole show, the girl called and C Divine says, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. Why are you still up? And she says, too much of that Snow White. And they took that piece and put it on the back of Buffalo Girls, which was an international smash record, and nobody even peeped what it meant. So that's crazy. But yeah, big up to the Supreme team. I met C Divine about 8 years ago, more like 10 years ago, and I fanned out. I lost it. He probably was like, why are you going so hard? Um, James Thomas Jr., thank you so much for your contribution to the channel. He said 1987 English duo Cold Cut remix Eric B for President. No, they mixed Paid in Full, and they put the Arabian lady. Yes, thank you so much. They put the Arabian singing in there. That was before BDP, and they kind of changed the beat. They didn't change the rhymes. It was the same rhymes, but that was a remix. Yeah, good call, James Thomas. Um, that was an early remix. That was an early remix, and that was the video version too. They put all kind of stuff in there. And they're going, thinking of a master plan. Thinking of a master plan. They did a lot of edits and everything. That was dope. Forgot about that. Good call. That was a good call. Thank you for your contribution. JT, what up? Thank you once again for your contribution to the channel. Says KP, do you have a strategy for growing the channel? I'm sure folks have some great ideas. Maybe you could do a special where we all pitch ideas. I'm down for it. Let's do a special. Maybe next week. Let's talk. I mean, if there's ideas um that make sense, I'm down for it. I want to expand the channel, and there's a few things I want to do. I'm just doing some creative work right now in the studio, and it's taking some of my time because I want to do more content. I have more stuff to say. I want to have more guests. That too. That more of that is coming. It's just trying to navigate my time. But yeah, if some people have ideas how we can make the channel grow, I'm all for it. Absolutely. Once again, this is the DJ Kenny Parker Show. For those that's just checking in, we do this every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we are now adding Friday as an additional time. So we're going to try to see how many Fridays we can get in a row. I'm going to scroll down all the way to the bottom, and then I'm going to jump off. Wait a minute. We got some more. James Thomas says, yeah, my bad, Paid in Full. Yeah, that's a good call, though. E. Stone, once again, thank you so much for your contribution to the channel. Says, yo, Kenny, love your show. I want you to get you that custom hip-hop shirt I created. I sent you a DM on Instagram. You did, and I saw it, and I forgot to respond. I will respond. I also sent a photo of me and my daughter with KRS-One out here in Los Angeles. You sent that to me now? Oh, you sent it before. I didn't see that. Please send that to me again, please. And I will respond to that. I'm sorry. I was on my DMs, and I saw that and I meant to respond, but I was doing some other stuff. But yeah, you got a picture of KRS and your daughter. That's dope, real dope. All right, I'm right at the bottom. Essays on BDP is Stupid Ridiculous is one of my favorite records KRS ever did, and I want to do when I get him on this show. Hopefully, when he gets back from Europe, I would have already done it, but he was gone for 2 months. I really want to talk about that song because we talked about it. And he just kind of be like, "Yeah, it was just a song," but I want to get to the bottom. That song should have been on by All Means Necessary. That was a great song, and should have been on by All Means Necessary. That's one of those songs that was one of my favorites. Rusty Horn says, Buffalo Gals get heavy rotation in my iTunes. I know exactly what talked about the vocals on those songs. Yeah. Too much of that Snow White. Patrick Ross says, Just Allah, the superstar. That was the other guy. It was C Divine. It was Just Allah, the superstar. Thank you. Says, what do you like about the show, girl? The way you talk. I love the way you talk. Yeah. Yeah. It was all that was, it was a whole thing. They took, by rights, let's see, she should have gotten money for that. They used her voice, although once you put your voice on the radio, does it become public domain? I don't know how that works, but did they get permission to? If they didn't get permission to use her voice on that song, she might have had an argument. She said, I called to speak to the world famous Supreme team. I did not want my voice used on a record. She probably had a check. That record was huge too. Uh-oh. Divine X says, Peace KP, Rick Rubin's remix of Jam Master Jam and added some new verse by Run DMC. That was in '85. Marley sampled the new verse on He Cut So Fresh. So there you have it. Then Run DMC might have done it first. I don't even remember that. I don't even remember that. But if that's true, then Run DMC damn near did everything first. But if that is true, then yeah, BDP was not the first. But I didn't remember anyone doing it like that before them. But if Run DMC did it, thank you for clearing that up. All right, we're jumping off. Let me see. I'm going to go all the way to the bottom. At the bottom. Sydney Rose says, the Meters funky sample on Essays and BDP is dope. And that was a rock production. Benny Jones says, 100 on Tuesday for real. JT been around for all 100, down since day one. MMA too, I think. Word. If you've been down since day one, we're pushing 2 years ago that we started doing this live. Thank you so much. I mean, you don't even understand what it means to me. I really appreciate it. And I love all of you regulars, man. We like family here now. And big up to the Rewind crew. All right, I'm jumping off. Yeah. Says, yo, KP, tell the Buffalo Girl story. That story is a song as well. Yeah, I don't know all of the story. I got bits and pieces of it, but if I ever get C Divine on here, man, that would be so dope. If anybody knows C Divine, please tell him that I would love to meet him. I met him. I would love to talk to him. That Prince Paul interview was fire. Thank you so much. If y'all didn't get a chance, that was the last interview we done with Prince Paul. That was 2 weeks ago, I believe. Please check that out. Malcolm McLaren's story was crazy. Yes, it was. He was down with the Sex Pistols and all kind of stuff. All right. We are out of here. Let me make this smaller. All right. God willing, Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're jumping on. All right, I'll catch you guys then. I am out of here. Peace.